Hello everyone! In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to sew a flawless neckline with the facing. And I'll share some of the techniques that you can use to prevent stretching out that neckline and ensure that you have a clean and professional finish. And you'll also get some extra practice stitching curved seams like we did in the previous videos. So I'll be demonstrating a few key things here. That'll be how to stitch a curved seam using a tearaway stabilizer, how to create smooth and precise curves without stretching your fabric, how to attach facing or lining to a curved edge, and also using an understitch to keep the facing neatly tucked inside so it doesn't roll out. All right, so let's get started. The first thing you're going to need is some fabric. So I'm going to provide this pattern again, that same one we used in the curved seam, except you're only going to use the concave piece of the pattern, and you'll cut 2 pieces from your fabric. Or you could even cut 1 fabric piece and 1 lining piece. You'll also need to cut a piece of tearaway right along that curved edge, and I've cut mine here about 5/8 inch wide. You can make it about 1 inch, 1/2 inch, whatever you choose. Just make sure it's enough to control it as you're sewing. All right, so let's go on to the very first step. We're going to sew the tearaway to the fabric. That's the piece that's facing out, so the actual garment piece. We're going to stitch it along that curve on to the wrong side of the fabric, and we're going to stitch at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to pick up that tearaway. I'm not pulling on it, I'm just picking it up and pivoting every 3 stitches or so. Again, remember, the more you pivot, the smoother your curve will be. All right, now that we're done stitching that, we're going to attach the facing or the lining. That's the piece that goes behind the neckline or behind the curve that you don't see. It's on the inside of the garment. So now we're going to align those curved edges, and I'm going to pin it at the center of the notch. You can do that, or you can pin it a little bit more if you need to. Make sure you position the fabric with the lining piece down on the machine so the tearaway is facing up. And then I'm just going to stitch along that curve using that curved seam technique again. I'm going to pick up that top piece slightly, stitch a few inches, and pivot. Do not pull on it, just gently pick it up and go slowly so that you can control that curved seam. And again, the more you pivot, the smoother your curve. All right, now that we have this stitched up together, we're gonna tear away the tearaway. And I'm just gonna gently remove it so I don't pull any stitches out. I've got a few little pieces stuck here that I need to just kind of use my nails to make sure I don't pull the stitching. All right, now finally what we need to do is we need to understitch for a nice clean finish. So you could go to your iron and you can press that seam allowance toward the facing or the lining piece. Then at the machine, we're going to stitch close to the seam line on the facing or on the lining. And we're going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from that seam. Make sure that the seam allowance is caught with that stitching underneath this. The beautiful thing about understitching is it keeps that facing neatly inside and it prevents it from rolling out. As you can see now, we have this beautiful, clean, curved edge with the facing. The fabric didn't stretch at all. It looks gorgeous. And you can use this technique on all your necklines, on lightweight fabric, on any type of a curved edge seam where you want a nice, clean, beautiful, curved seam, or lightweight fabrics where you have a lining or a facing and you want to make sure it doesn't stretch. You don't necessarily have to use the tearaway. There are other techniques like stay stitching that you can use, but the tearaway always works. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you liked and enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And I hope to see you in the next video. Happy sewing!